Further supplementaries, we will move to question number 2. Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all his statements?
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, yes. And he particularly stands by his statement, quote, "I think Labor will be very worried about this poll. You've got a situation where David Cunliffe is polling worse than David Shearer."
Supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does he stand by his statement that, quote, National is not going to be raising GST, despite the fact that he did?
Yes, that's right.
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, this is not exactly a new attack line here. Mr Speaker, as the Prime Minister said, I think 5 years ago, which the Labor Research Unit has just discovered, in the context in which he said it, of course he was correct. The government is very proud of its 2010 tax reforms. They're helping underpin the current high growth, high confidence, high jobs economy.
Mr Speaker, to the Prime Minister,
supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does he stand by his statement, I'm not interested in selling assets, despite the fact that he did?
Order.
Well,
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister stands by all the statements he made, starting at the beginning of 2011, when he told the country that a re-elected national government would sell 49% of these companies to Kiwis at the front of the queue, and the statements he made that the opposition referendum would come to nothing, and the statements he made we would have $4.7 billion in the Future Investment Fund to spend on schools, hospitals and other public infrastructure.
Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable
Question to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by the Minister of Finance's statement that they'd get $5 to $7 billion for those assets and Kiwis be at the front of the queue when they got less than 5 and only 2% of New Zealanders own the shares?
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, he does stand by those statements, and he also stands by his statement. He also stands by his statement that the opposition don't seem to have anything new to say that they hadn't said in the 2008 election.
Mr Speaker,
supplementary question.
Does the Prime Minister stand by his statement that there's, quote, no housing crisis in New Zealand, despite the fact that there is?
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, and he also stands by his ministers, who have done pretty much everything except take the housing decision-making role off our metropolitan councils. But the efforts we have made, working with them, have led to record building consents in the last couple of months. And the good news is New Zealanders can look forward to more affordable housing over the next 3 to 5 years.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does he stand by his statement, we need all New Zealanders to have jobs and security, despite the fact the government changed the law to fire people at will, and despite the fact that he opposes Labor's $2 increase to the minimum wage?
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
With respect to employment, the Prime Minister restates his concern that that member's job security and employment is really in doubt.
Mr Speaker,
supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does he stand by his statement that he expects high standards from his ministers, despite the fact that that list includes John Banks, Peter Dunn, Judith Collins, Maurice Williamson, included Richard Worth and Pansy Wong, not to mention others like Aaron Gilmore, Claudette Hauiti, and so on and so forth?
Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes, and I would have thought that the member going through the list would be able to see that where standards weren't met, there were significant consequences in almost all of those cases.
Question number 3. Right. Order. Order. Question number 3, Right Honourable Winston Peters.